It's high-stakes hoops for the 8 remaining crews in the NBA playoffs. There have been surprises, scorching performances, superstars in the making, and see you next years. Bubble ball continues to be amazing. Now the tension and action have intensified in the second round as teams move a step closer to the Holy Grail. In the loaded Western Conference, the race is as tight as Los Angeles traffic during rush hour. 4 teams, 4 different storylines. The Denver Nuggets looking to prove they're not a fluke. The Houston Rockets showing there's a method to microball. The Los Angeles Clippers eager to stamp their own class. And the Los Angeles Lakers aiming to return atop the pedestal. Strap your boots, we're definitely in for a wild ride. That's the headline on tonight's Sports Page.
The hottest headlines.
The integral issue.
Who will join the pantheon of the great?
What's the outlook of the future of sports?
The game changers.
The history makers.
The stories that make sports eternally compelling.
Open the Sports Page.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sports Page. As you know, the NBA playoffs are heating up, and each game, each encounter has been, wow, very, very dramatic and so much to talk about. But today, the focus will be on the Western Conference and what's happening there. Dominic Uy is with us.
Thank you, Seb. And, we'd like to welcome our 3 special guests on Sports Page. First and foremost, one sports analyst and my idol. And I grew up watching this guy covering not just the PBA, but even the NBA Finals, Dr. J, Andy Jao. And of course, I always mumble whenever I introduce my friend, my guy I've idolized as well, and the only guy who's ever kissed me on TV, on my cheek, Coach Ronnie Magsanoc from the Meralco Bolts. And of course, the awesome guy, the awesome Newsome, Chris Newsome from the Meralco Bolts. Well, guys, welcome to the show. We're very excited to have you guys here on Sports Page. And we'd like to start out this show by starting out with, tell me your impressions of what's happening in the Western playoffs in the NBA right now. Let's start off with Dr. J.
Well, we know that we're in the semifinals right now, and we probably should have already caught the game between the Lakers and the Houston Rockets. Of course, you're having a team that's playing small ball, not really doing that well, but they were able to eke out a victory in game number 7 over the Oklahoma Thunder. And they're going to have to face a very tough team in the Los Angeles Lakers.
Coach Ronnie, how impressed are you with the level of play so far in the playoffs? We understand, that there was a it's the bubble. There was a long period of rest. How impressed are you now that they brought up the game from their eliminations of a few games and then now into the playoffs?
There is a ton of difference between the quality of the games that we saw in the seeding games and in the postseason. And you can see how well these players have been able to adapt to the bubble environment. Goes without saying that here in the postseason, this is where the bonuses also come in. This is where the elite players also are able to step up to the plate, so to speak. And that is exactly what we are seeing. The top 20 players, the top 10 players are now showing up and proving that they deserve those mega deals. But more than that, they're here to win once-in-a-lifetime bubble execution of the NBA. And that's why the top 4 teams in the Western Conference are now facing each other in the semifinals.
Okay, Chris, I know you've been watching the games. Do you think players are back in that competitive mode? I know the issues of social injustice are still there. The families are with them. The depression of other players seems to be a thing of the past, especially Paul George. Do you think the players are in that competitive playoff mode?
Yeah, I definitely feel like they have turned it on and flipped that switch to be in playoff mode. And it's been great to see. Of course, it's tough with a lot of the distractions that are kind of going on right now. And the NBA is actually leading the forefront as far as the social justice things that are going on in the States. So that actually gives a lot more responsibility to the players now more than ever. And just the fact that they're able to kind of tune those out and still play the game of basketball, still play it well, that says a lot about how they really treat their craft and what they do, and that they are capable of still performing despite everything that's going on. So the level of play has been amazing. I definitely feel that the teams are going to turn it up a bit on both sides, but I think overall, it's been fun to watch. And like Coach Ronnie was saying, you're seeing the people that are really coming to play, and they're really putting up those numbers, and they're really earning those contracts.
Okay. Dr. J, the favorites are in their prime position. Do you think that it's going to be the Lakers against the Clippers eventually in the conference finals?
Well, the way it looks, that's probably what's going to happen. But their depth, very obvious with the Clippers that they're a very, very deep team. I really think they have a good chance of winning the finals, of going to the finals of the NBA finals. The way they're made right now, the way they're built, the players that they got off just before the bubble came into the picture, I think they're one of the teams that are really tough. Now, LA, the Lakers, Davis plays the way he plays, which he can probably dominate against the Rockets, the way he's been shooting outside as well as playing on the inside, and his free throw shooting is so good, they're really going to have a very big advantage against the Rockets, who are limited to about 7 to 8 players.
Thank you, Dr. J. Ronnie, why the uproar, everybody suddenly fascinated with the defense of Harden as if he never played defense in his life? Why was everybody so excited about that block that he did in the last game?
Well, especially in a game wherein he shot, I believe, only 4 out of 15 and he struggled big time. To be able to come up with something to help the team win the series and get past a team that was really hounding them all series long, I think it was a testament to the kind of just passion coming from James Harden, because in the last few years, they have come up short. They were nearly into the Western Conference Finals. They almost went to the NBA Finals. All that did not materialize. But hopefully they'll get another chance, because last year they were sideswiped by the Warriors in the Eastern Conference semis. But now they get another chance, although this is a harder face-up for them. But, at least James Harden was able to prove that when the need arises, can come up with a defensive gem to help his team secure a win and not just rely on his offensive arsenal.
Okay. Dom, you have a question?
Yeah, we're talking about players, right? Obviously, now you see the players are getting more and more tired. And, we usually ask this to the coaches, right? How do you motivate a player when he's tired? But let's ask Chris. I mean, as a player and you're tired, what do you want to hear from your coach, or what motivates you to keep on playing and pushing yourself?
I think at this point in the season, the thing that keeps a lot of players going is everything that they did in the preseason and everything that built them up to this point. So as a player, what you like to hear are the things that continue to give you confidence, even if you are struggling, even if you are tired. And then sometimes you have to go on that journey on how far you came, all the work that you put in the off season, all those extra reps that you had to do led you all the way to this moment that you're at now. And I think that's what a lot of players feed off of. And you can kind of see it in their play, in their swagger and their style on the court. Whenever they're tired, but they also have that fierce look on their face, that competitiveness that's driving them. And that's just pure competitive spirit that's getting them through. But of course, as a coach, you want to continue to instill confidence in your players, even if they are going through a shooting streak. Because at this point, it's about winning games. So like Coach Ronnie was saying, James Harden only had 17 points, didn't have the best game of his life, but he came through when they needed him most. And that was.
We'll go deeper into these two semifinal battles in just a short while when Sports Page returns.
Meditating helps extremely, a lot for me personally. Taking a lot of deep breaths and just closing my eyes and just centering myself, listening to my inner self and things of that nature. And then, but also, like I said, talking to my kids, talking to my mom. That definitely, something that keeps me, in the bubble, I guess you would say, sane.
There's a lot of emotion, and try to play with that. As you can see, I use that to will myself to be great, be better. And without basketball, I don't know where I'd be or who I'd be or anything like that. So, like I said, just a lot of emotion, more than I can put into words for y'all.
Logic dictates that in basketball, the closer you get to the hoop, the better. But these days, that's not necessarily true. The three-point revolution in the NBA isn't exactly new, but the trend continues to reach almost unthinkable levels. The NBA introduced the three-point line in the 1979-1980 season as sort of a gimmick. Little did they know it would change the game forever. 5 years after its inception, teams averaged 2.4 three-point shots per game. In the first round of this year's playoffs, Orlando Magic center Nikola Vujacic alone averaged 8.8 attempts from long range. The Houston Rockets, the leading proponent of the rainbow movement, hoisted a whopping 51 per outing, more than half of their total attempts. 10 seasons ago, teams only averaged 18 three-point shots per game in the playoffs. This year, 37.5. Before, coaches would lose their mind when a player chucks from beyond 22 feet. Nowadays, Damian Lillard and Steph Curry casually shoot from the logo. Just 5 seasons ago, the average percentage from 30 feet and beyond was only 16.6%. This season, 27.3%. To put things in perspective, in the 1983-84 season, the average three-point shooting in the league from normal distance was 25%. Everything sounds irrational, but there's actually a method to the madness. So don't be surprised if you see more three-pointers in the coming days. Maybe we'll see James Harden take 50 shots from long range, or even 200. Dr. J, a lot of people are talking about the officiating that's been happening. What are your thoughts so far? We've seen a lot of controversial calls. Some people even say that it shouldn't have been called, or it should have been called, depending on how the rules are being interpreted. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, I think it suffices for the situation that they have. Some of the referees, if I'm not mistaken, have to referee 2 games in a day in the early part of the start of these playoffs, no? So, the fatigue factor also comes. We've had a couple of overtime games already. It started, I think, with the first day, and we had one just a couple of days ago. So, I just think that sometimes people's minds are concentrated on the fact that you want to see the stars, and the referees give those stars a lot more. I really believe, for example, like Paul George fouls a lot. For me, if I were officiating him, he probably will fall out of a ball game. But he gets away with a little because he's known to be a good defender, but he loves to hold people. And if the referees want to be touchy about you, they call that a foul. You're gonna have to sit down. So those things are the things that sometimes are in the minds of the people or that are watching the games. But in fairness to them, I think it's okay. But I thought that the last 2 calls in the game between the Bucks and between the Bucks and the Celtics shouldn't have been called, because they want to say that let the players decide the game. The guy took the shot already; it's on the way, and then you come in because you have lost a little momentum. You hold on to his back. You give him 2 free throws at the end of the ball game. The other team can only watch; they can't do anything. So sometimes it hurts you. So you have to fight back. But they're not out of it. They're 0-2, but they're not out of it.
Coach Ronnie, what are your thoughts from a coaching perspective? Obviously the officiating, you always have to tell your players, do not mind the calls. Keep on playing. But these guys are big stars, and you can see all the emotion that they get, and especially in the playoffs, one call can really change the series and can really change to the other direction.
There's one thing I have learned through the last 2 decades being involved in coaching. It's the fact that once the whistle is blown, unless right now they're able to challenge the calls, that call will stay. And so the next focus should be, what can you do next? But with regard to what happened in the Jimmy Butler shot, you can't do anything more about it except hope that he will miss the free throws. Eventually, as a coach, you're hoping that somehow during the end of the game, you'll get the good end of the calls. But sometimes it doesn't happen that way. You just have to face reality that these things happen, and these things will happen again and again and again.
Ronnie, you've always told me, ang hilig mong tumira ng malayo. Pero hindi kasing layo ng gitna ng court ng logo, di ba? Is this a new phenomenon? Because Gabe Norwood was telling us he wasn't surprised when Paul Lee would do that in the practices nung sila'y rain or shine. Is this the new trend? Are we going in that direction farther and farther out with the three-point shot?
In terms of the NBA philosophy, I think it is. In the PBA, we have also started to allow players to take range beyond what is normally seen. But I'd like to just stress a point that these players are special players, and not all outside shooters will have that ability, not just to make shots, but just to take shots from near the logo is very hard. That's almost a Hail Mary heave normally when shot clock is bound to expire. It's very, very hard to take shots from that distance, even if you work on it. But for some special players, they have that ability. For example, Jimmy Alapag, for example, Paul Lee, and for the rest of the NBA players, right now it's Dame Lillard at the top of that list, making a shot from near the half-court line a high percentage shot. And that's something that is special to some players and something that they can work on. But I still believe that that shot is not for everyone. Not every perimeter player will have that special skill. In as much as Chris Newsome has that innate ability to overpower opponents that are within his size.
Do you want to increase your range, Chris Newsome?
I mean, I would love to increase my range. I think I've had a lot of morning sessions watching Coach Ronnie, shoot it from pretty deep. And honestly, though, that's not the top of my priority, of course. I like to go with percentages. And honestly, I understand who I am as a player. And like Coach Ronnie was saying, that is definitely something that can be improved. But as myself as a player, I know that my specialty and my range is in that mid-range area. But of course, it's exciting whenever you see those players shooting it from
goes in.
deep.
Yeah.
And it goes in. But of course, this is a percentage game. So
yeah,
you gotta play those percentages.
Bananas. Okay. Let's go to the Lakers-Houston series. Dr. J, small ball being advocated by Houston. Mike D'Antoni loves that kind of attack. Even when he was in Phoenix and every team that he has been with, that's his.
He would have to shoot the three-point shot well. As Dom said, in this bubble thing, there was a game that I think the other day Rocket shot 58 three-point shots. Now, if you see the way the Lakers have built themselves, after Anthony Davis, you got a job because the high pick and roll, when he comes in, nobody's going to challenge him when he makes the follow-ups. He's not really a good outside shooter or anything, but he does a lot of damage on the inside. The game that Jokic won the other day was on the inside. They couldn't make, both teams couldn't make any shots until the semi-hook of Jokic. I mean, the score was 80-78 after a couple of games, over 100-something. When it came down the wire, you're going to have the ball game on the inside. For me, unless Harden gets to the basket or Russell can get to shoot the 3 points. But I don't think Tucker is even a 25% three-point shooter. But he takes a lot. He takes about 5 or 6 every game because he's always spotting on the corners. And Covington takes about 7 or 8. You give him anything, Covington's throwing it up.
They'll shoot everything. Okay, Dom?
Coach Ronnie, a lot of people were saying both the Rockets and the Lakers not so impressive in the first round. Coming into the second round, how do you assess these two teams? Where are they in terms of the level of play? And let's also go to who has the advantage for you.
Well, I'll answer your last question first. I think the Lakers have a massive advantage versus the Rockets. Two, may not have been impressive in the first round, but one thing I've learned, it's not about the first round. It's about where you are right now, and the Lakers have gotten better, and that is exactly the direction that they perceived they were heading to, simply because they struggled in the last part of the seeding games. Why? Because they are already in the playoffs. They didn't needed those wins, but they had to be healthy, and they had to be in the right timing and in the right game shape. And for the Rockets, I think that it's going to be hard for them to be able to keep in step with the Lakers, even if they were the first team that beat the Lakers after Clint Capella was traded in the regular season. The first game win over 2 games, probably 1 game, 2 at the most. But with what the Lakers have shown so far, after improving, especially in the last part of the series against Dallas, I think it's going to be tough for Houston to keep in step against a solid unit like the Lakers have.
Okay. Dom, I think we're due for another break, and we can talk about the other series when we return.
Okay, we all know the usual suspects will come out to play, but who are the X factors for the 4 remaining teams? Let's find out more from our guests when Sports Page returns.
It's a series, and you got to be able to come out with the same intensity and find a way to be consistent moving to the next game. And as far as injury-wise, man, I'm getting better, just finding my legs still and continue to push through.
You just got to keep fighting. This playoff basketball, everything is not going to go your way. You're going to have downs and ups, and just got to keep playing.
For tonight's That's What They Said, we asked, what's your favorite second-round matchup in the NBA playoffs? Paul Adrian DeFeo, Rockets versus Lakers. PJ Tucker versus Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, and Anthony Davis. Theodore Harold Puglia, Heat versus Bucks, because Heat's good defense against Giannis Antetokounmpo. Renz Jayan Sumuga, Boston Celtics versus the Toronto Raptors. I want the champs to get eliminated by Celtic pride. Joe Nell, Lakers versus Houston. Gusto ko makita kung kaya ni The Beard si LeBron. And that's what they said. Okay guys, Chris, let's start out with you. We all know that in a series, there are always guys who will be the X factor. And as a player, guys take different roles. For you, who do you see will be the X factor for the Clippers and the Denver Nuggets?
For me, that X factor for the Nuggets is definitely going to be Jokic. He wasn't necessarily the leading guy as far as the last series goes because Murray kind of took over. But what we're going to see in this series is that the Nuggets need to dominate on the inside. They have the bigger lineup technically on paper, and he's going up against somebody that doesn't have the same defensive capability as Rudy Gobert. So in order for the Nuggets to kind of have some kind of chance, they got to hit outside shots. And I think the Nuggets have to play inside out this series rather than outside in like they did last. As you saw earlier in the game today, they were actually double teaming Jokic because he was actually going to work on Zubac. So, and once you start pounding it inside, you get people in foul trouble. They're forced to double team, and that will open up your outside shots. For the Clippers, it's definitely going to have to be Paul George. They expect him to do a lot, and that's what superstars are supposed to do. So they're required and they're supposed to perform, especially in the playoffs. So if Paul George doesn't show up, it's going to be really hard trying to find that other person that's going to come in and catch fire for 25, 30 points a game, which they do have some people that are going to do it. But we all know that Paul George, being Paul George, it's time for him to show up.
Coach Ronnie, just like Chris said, Paul George, he's got it all. He has to be able to show it in the games. How do you motivate a player like that to be able to perform in a stage like the NBA semifinals?
Before Paul George made this move to this team, remember that he has always been a franchise player. And he has always been considered as a top 10 or top 20 player in the NBA. Perhaps the best motivation for him right now is that he's playing alongside the top player in the NBA season last year, Mr. Robot himself, Kawhi Leonard. And I think the best motivation that he can utilize right now is that he has someone who can help him win games, even after struggling for about 4 or 5 games in the series against Dallas. Therefore, if he can just play 60 to 70% of what he normally is, what he normally was before they played together, then I think the chances of winning will improve. And I think Kawhi Leonard also stated it very well that Paul George will miss shots, but Paul George can help the team and impact the team in so many ways. Defensively, he will always be a good presence, defending the perimeter players of the opposition, and he will continue to be a scoring threat, therefore keeping the defense honest at all times. So Paul George will still play an integral role for, of course, the Clippers, and the motivation that simply should tell him that this is the best time for them to win the title.
I wanted to ask Dr. J, do you see or predict any surprise in this series?
Exactly my same question. Go ahead, Doc.
The Western Conference, I doubt it. No, I think that the top 2 seeds will probably advance to play in the finals. We don't know what's going to happen with Miami and the top seed, Milwaukee, but Miami certainly has been playing well. But I think in the Eastern Conference, it'll be very hard. Now, for me, the other problem on the other side, Butler is this. Tucker is their center. Tucker cannot guard anybody on the perimeter. He can guard people below because he's strong enough, but he has never been able to guard anybody that's quicker than him. And he's not going to guard LeBron starting from the outside because he's taking him into the basket all the time. He's going to foul out. So I really don't know how they're going to beat them. It has to be a super shooting night on the part of the Houston Rockets to beat the Lakers. Maybe they might get one. Hopefully they get two and make it a nice series. But if they shoot, we had 5 straight points and then he had a nice assist for a 3-point shot. So he was responsible for the team to get him back. That was the way they used to work with Kevin Durant. But he always gave way to Kevin Durant because he believed that guy was the better player.
Okay. And looks like there are no surprises except for the days ahead, Dom, in the Western Conference.
I agree. I think the good thing about the NBA being back and we are in the playoffs. It's really something that everybody's looking forward to. I'm so happy that they decided to continue to play.
We've had a good show tonight with our guests, of course.
And we'd like to thank our guests. We'd like to thank Chris Newsome, Coach Ronnie. Always great to have you. Always good to see you. And Dr. J, thank you always. Just full of wisdom and full of insight. Thank you guys for joining us on Sports Page.
We hope to see Ronnie and Chris Newsome and Dr. J in our own bubble soon. Okay, our last look. They say legends are made in the NBA playoffs, and boy, that couldn't be truer than this year. The Western Conference has always been tough, and if you're a player trying to win a title, there are so many great teams and players to hurdle, just to name a few. And here's a rundown of them. How hard it is. Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hakeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, Dirk Nowitzki, Stephen Curry, to just name a few. It is not an easy conference to get out of, but there are a few surprises that could happen in the bubble, and we are going to watch every step of the way. In behalf of Dominic Uy and all our great guests tonight, thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the games ahead in the NBA, and this has been your Sports Page.